So my name is Steve Walden. I'm in my 6th year with Urban Homeworks, part of the Urban Homeworks community. I've been doing construction for approximately 20 years, and I've lived in the Minneapolis area, North Minneapolis area for 15. What drew me to Urban Homeworks is how we use housing and all the activity around it as a playground to engage in the community that we live in. Minneapolis is a place that I love, and yet it has deep disparities that often break down racial and cultural lines. This is a problem that takes all of us to figure out. Both the afflictors and the afflicted must play a role, and every one of us exists somewhere in that spectrum. There are no sidelines. This is the culture of Urban Homeworks, and it keeps me using my craft and construction in a relevant way far beyond my own personal gain. Since joining Urban Homeworks, I have filled a variety of roles and watched Urban Homeworks grow significantly, both in influence and both in social influence in the community and in size. More recently, over the past 2 years, I've had the privilege of being a founding leader in UC2, which stands for Urban Construction Company. UC2 is a social enterprise focused on construction that was started by Urban Homeworks to create the next step in opportunity to the young adults excelling in our training programs. Youth Build is one of the programs that you heard about in the Duolingo. It enrolls youth engaged in dangerous, at-risk behaviors and gives them an introduction to construction while helping them get their high school diploma. It plants a seed in their lives, but this seed often needs something, a next step to usher them into the next phase of their life. Many of the participants are starting from behind. And all too often we found in follow-up to the training that these participants, even the ones that excelled, are struggling to find employment that would launch their careers ultimately. UC2 exists to fill that gap. In 2014, UC2 earned nearly $250,000 in revenue while performing almost half of our work on external contracts to Urban Homeworks. We have done concrete driveways, we've done full house foundations, we've framed second-story additions to houses, and that's just to name a few. And that only scratches the surface of where we have been in the past 2 years. We share many great memories of many hard days' work, and we currently have 100% retention of our original team. You're about to hear the personal stories of 4 charter members of UC2. Listen carefully as these stories paint a picture of struggle and resolve. But more importantly, they paint a picture that ultimately gives way to joy. It is a joy that stems not only from their own success, but also from becoming part of the solution to their own community. These guys right here that you'll hear from, who have made the launch of UC2 so successful, are now my friends and peers. They are the future leaders of our community and are already pillars of strength to their families and the community that they live in. It is hard to believe that less than 2 years ago, they were all staring down the harsh reality of what it means to lack real life-changing opportunity. These guys have beaten the odds. They are the hope of Jesus that we have in our mission statement. Thank you for supporting Urban Homeworks. Because of these guys, all of our lives are better. People like you allow us to be nimble and listen to the voices in our ears and do something about it. You are part of their stories. You are part of my story. Thank you. First up, SHAQUILLE SARGENT.
Hi, my name is SHAQUILLE SARGENT. I was born in Chicago, Illinois. My family moved to Madison, Wisconsin when I was about 13. On a life-changing trip to Minnesota to visit my mom's boyfriend, I kind of got stuck here. Growing up, we lacked things in the house such as food, clothing, and sometimes a place to stay. My mom was around, but she couldn't provide like she wanted to because she struggled with addiction. My oldest brothers moved out the house before I was born, but my brother Jamal, who was just 3 years younger than me, we were very close. We would talk at night about how we needed to make something happen, or we would struggle like this for the rest of our lives. We had to do something or we could be stuck in this bad situation forever. My sister, who was just 2 years older than me, tried to help, but we wanted to keep her and my younger sister safe from what was happening. So we told my older sister to watch over my younger sister, and we would take care of everything. Whatever they needed, we could give for them. However, I wasn't equipped to know what the right decisions were. I made good and bad choices growing up. I made choices to help my family, but I didn't do it in the right way. I did illegal activities to earn money. I hung around a wrong crowd of friends because growing up, that's all I had. I made some bad choices to help with things we needed. The fact that I was doing wrong and I needed to make a change didn't sink very quickly. I had been in and out of jail multiple times, given multiple warnings that I needed to make a better decision, but I wasn't listening. I would start a job, but didn't see the point of waiting 2 weeks for a paycheck when I knew ways that I can get money. So I started the cycle of poor choices all over again. On the trip to Minnesota to visit my mom's boyfriend, I ended up in jail again. In this new state, they looked at my background and told me I could end up in prison. And I was only 17. I knew I couldn't make it in prison. So that day, I went home, told my siblings and my mom that I needed to make a serious change. I was stuck in Minnesota on probation, but what I had found out in Minnesota, it was full of resources for me. I got myself together, I started looking for jobs and using the resources to help me and my family. I started going to church, connecting me with a lot of people. From there, I started Tree Trust. I worked with Tree Trust for about 2 years and learned all about construction. Everything was new to me and hands-on. The first project I completed was framing a garage. I still remember the day to finish that work. It was the best feeling you could imagine. After Tree Trust, I wasn't sure what to do next. I worked at a nursing home for about 2 weeks. They let me go because of my criminal record. It was easy to go back into old habits, and I found myself standing on street corners all over again. UC Square was my first real job, and it has been a huge help in my life. It pays good wages, helped me with the things I struggled with for a long time. In my crew, I have found a group of friends who I can talk to about anything. We support one another. I am in school right now with the goals of being a social worker. I want to continue UC Square as a long-term career. I want to keep pushing UC Square to get bigger and bigger and help more people find their way to good choices. I want to be a resource for people who needed the opportunity. I want to be a voice in the community. Thank you.
Hello. Hello. My name is Olu, but it's short for Olu Adadasi. It's an African name. I grew up in West Africa with my mom. In Africa, you gotta pay to go to school, like elementary till high school, you gotta pay. So my mom was a police officer. She worked hard to send me to school. It was a 14 years civil war in Liberia. It started up in the country, and occasionally you come to the city, and you gotta lie down on the floor for like hours because bullets flying everywhere. My mom sent me to the US with my dad to go to school. I had family members that was terrified of the war to protect me. My mom had to send me away. I live with my dad and stepmom, but she had a past with my mom, so she didn't like me, so I got kicked out of home when I was 15. I stayed with friends. I was in a foster care system. I was in the United States for 4 years. I ain't know nobody. I had to make all my choice on my own after I got kicked out. I was making my own choice. Sometimes hanging out with the wrong crowd. I dropped out of high school when I was 18. I kind of gave up on life. My stepmom had told me I wasn't going to be nothing, so I figured I was nothing. Of course, I went down the terrible path. My dad had not filed for me to be a citizen or a green card. I needed to get my green card. I had stayed out of trouble to get my green card. When I was 20, I heard about Tree Trust. I worked with Tree Trust in Youth Build, which motivated me to graduate from high school. It was hard working though. I had to wake up every morning knowing I don't have nowhere to spend the night. I had to wake up every morning to go to school or work. When you live like that, you can get in trouble easily, or you can easily get deported back to where you're from. Having a job keep me out of trouble. When I heard about UC2 I was very excited to join the crew. Now I just turned 24. I have things going better on for me. I make better decisions. I like working and getting my own place so my mom can come visit. I have a car, I'm building my credit. I have been looking at prison time. Some of my friends, but instead things are going well. I like to work every day and make change for family. It's all about who you're doing the work for. You can make differences in people's lives just by working on houses. We build a handicap ramp for one family. Every day I see progress we making. In UC2, my crew talk about me making them laugh, having fun. Because I'm African, I know I'm different. Being fun and making everybody laugh make me part of the group. It make the day go by quicker. It helped me practice my English. English is my second language. I tend not to raise my voice growing up because people make fun of the way I talk. So I mumble when I talk, like I don't like to say it out loud because I don't want to make fun of them. I'm working on my English because I want my voice to be here. I want to own a small business and be a community leader. There are a lot of African people who could use my help. We African pride ourselves on doing stuff on our own, but not everybody know how to fix things around the house or even know how to make life decisions. I could be a person that could help a lot of African kids that are going to need someone to talk to like me. My mom lived in Africa. I haven't seen her in 12 years. I want to go back home and visit my mom. We talk on the phone all the time. She one of the main things on my mind. When I go back home, she gonna prepare a feast. She will cry. It will be all fun and excitement. I'm the man of my family. I'm proud to be working and taking care of my mom. Thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hello.
My name is John. When I was growing up, I didn't have good role models. Everyone in my household drank every day. My dad and stepdad struggled with drug addiction. So seeing these things as a model at Hope set me up for bad choices of my own. As a teenager, I had a reading and writing disability, so school was difficult. Later down the road, things like applying for jobs became really difficult. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with my life. And the future was very unclear. I made some bad decisions and moved out of my parents' house. I was considering dropping out of school. During this time, I went to an alternative school. When Tree Trust came to my school, I applied, but I did not get accepted the first time. The second time I applied, I was accepted. I remember part of the training, the mental toughness portion of the tryouts. I was trying to be in first place with all the endurance tests, but at 120 pounds, that wasn't going to happen. Eventually, the leader said to me that I could stop trying so hard. It wasn't about being the best. He could see the effort I was putting in. He said that was what was important, and that the spot on the crew was mine. After Tree Trust, I completed the Youth Build program. For every 60 hours I worked, I got a work credit. I was able to graduate on time. When I was once thinking of dropping out of school, here I was graduating. It was a great feeling. Getting arrested was a point in my life that made me want to change and making better choices. Here I was sticking to my decision, making good choices. I had graduated, but I wasn't sure what to do next. Having a record meant I could only get a job working for minimum wage. I wasn't able to find housing. Nowhere I applied would accept me. I ended up living with my mom again, who had already had 8 people living in a 2-bedroom townhome. There was 8 of us. I can relate to some of the family's struggles in the urban homeworks programs. There isn't enough money for everyone in the household, and you have to make do with what you've got. I stopped hanging out with people who are influencing me to make negative choices, and I stopped stealing. But the jobs still weren't available because of my record. So I tried hard at the job I did have, making minimum wage. Then I found out my fiance was pregnant. That same day, Steve called and told me I got the job with UC2. Since then, I haven't gotten in trouble with the law. I'm making enough money to support my family, and I feel stable. I'm saving money to find my own place for me and my family that I've started. I want my son to go down a better path than I did. I don't ever want him to feel like he's not wanted at home. I want him to go to school and grow up to be whatever he wants to be. Hopefully a construction worker though. I'd just like to thank everyone for coming today. Your support has helped me and my fellow crew members more than you'll ever know.
Hello everyone, my name is Bernard Flowers. I always wanted to be a construction worker, but never thought I would be able to. My grandpa and cousin worked in construction. They was the successful people in the family. They were the ones I looked up to because of the things I was involved in. I never even thought I would have a job, but since UC2 I realized what is possible. I grew in North Minneapolis and never left the North Side. I like Broadway and the whole area, but it has its ups and downs. But there is a lot of opportunity. I have 3 sisters and 2 little brothers, and we are very close. My grandma is the peacekeeper of the family growing up. We would turn to her for the solution whenever something that was happening. We are a close family with a lot of love, but there were a lot of drugs. I thought what was normal, and most of my family grew up the same way. My biggest goal was to always accomplish something, but the odds were always stacked against me. Growing up, I was always good at school and liked it, but I had to provide for my family, so I couldn't go as much as I needed to. married, so. but after high school, I was at a transition school. But after high school, I was at a family, I was at a transition school, I'm sorry. I felt it was pointless, I felt it was bored. But one day I was killing time downstairs and overheard talking about tree trusts. I signed up really because I didn't know what else to do. But all of a sudden, I was on the crew and graduated from the summer program. After tree trusts, I worked at a temp service packing and stacking boxes in the warehouse. It was segregated and everyone spoke Spanish. I knew that wasn't working for me then, so I got called to be an assistant crew leader for tree trusts for a few months. When that ended, I was out of work again and got tired of the problems. Around 4th of July, there was a murder that happened at my auntie's house. I was there when it happened, and I got called in to testify during the trial. I was trying to provide for my siblings, but there wasn't enough money. I didn't have a job. The lights got turned off. I would shower in the dark and watch my younger siblings eat what food I could afford for them. I was on the streets a lot. I was involved in a lot of criminal activities. And I was doing bad stuff to feed my family and myself. Now, the lights back on. My family happy for me. My friends look at me as a role model. And my family has been going to church a lot. And we just keep thinking, God bless us. This job is a great accomplishment for me. Before, I felt like I didn't have anything to lose. But here, I see that this is more than a job experience. It's a life experience. The people at Urban Homeworks are humble and come from all sorts of backgrounds. I don't have to be aggressive anymore. And no one is looking to get me in trouble either. Even the way I talk has changed. I am presenting myself differently with more confidence because of the people I am surrounded. The way I was going was either jail or dead. I don't talk about problems a lot, but having people to talk to feels good. And my goal is to never feel negativity again. UC Squared is the best opportunity of my life. I feel comfortable. I can relax. Thank you.
Well, last year I stood up here and dumped a whole bunch of information on you. And pulling a Wayno. And this year, you know what? Bottom line is, this is about the holy mix that happens every day. And how that mix continues to transform our life. And I said our life. My life is included in that. So I just want to say thanks for coming. I want to say thank you for being a part of what's been cooking over this last year. I want to say thanks to Mom and Dad because they always do a good job of recruiting to get folks here. To Emily, Jess, Cody, Jonathan, for pulling this off. I want to say thanks for UC Squared, I'm sorry, because these guys didn't sign up to make public speeches. All right? They did it. And they did it, and they were excited about doing it. And so this isn't just about thanking folks who participate in the grain drive, although it has grain drive proclivities to it, because it kind of came out of what happened when we started to show up in a truck. And so if you're a supporter, I just want to say thank you to you, even if you don't give us a kernel of corn. And that after you leave here, that you get this deep, deep sense of gratitude that we have for our relationship together. I'd also like to take a second to pay tribute to my uncle. I was telling these guys that the group of people that get together here have, you know, mostly family and stuff. And Uncle Gene had fingerprints all over my life. And so I just want to give a little tribute to Uncle Gene. As the video showed a little bit ago, we don't necessarily always share the same language. We sometimes have different definitions for things, and some of us might know what the head of a combine is, or an auger, and then some of us might know who the popo are, or what fleek means, or if you're picking one of my piggins. That's right. So pretty soon we're going to walk around and take a video of you all, so we're going to bring it back and show them what this looks like. And I didn't grow up in Chicago. And to quote our colleague Angelo Thurman, one of our teammates at Urban Homeworks, he came from Chicago. He calls it Chirac. He was there for a funeral, and 2 shootings broke out while he was visiting home. I didn't grow up like that. I didn't grow up in a community that was deeply, deeply torn by Civil War. I didn't grow up with addiction all around me. Although I have come to believe that we're all recovering from something. I'm from a different place, a different set of circumstances than my colleagues, but not deficient. Just different. And it's these differences, I think, that can help sharpen and spur on growth for each other. I'm from a sandbox, a tree house, a 3010 John Deere picking rock. Well, at least I think I am. Sheila would probably argue with me on that. I'm from 3-wheelers and 22 caliber rifles popping off birdshot. Air pregnant with soil and sugar beet residue signaling fall. I'm from flatlands and the rises and falls of the sun and the emergence of weather on the horizon so magnificent. I've wept. I'm from Adeline and Janice and Sheila, the legacy of women present, persistent, and purposeful. I'm from Sunday night song services and Our Father who art in heaven, and I believe in God the Father Almighty, the voices of Zig Ziglar, Earl Nightingale, Vic Conant. I am from the messages of you can, you can, you can. You are not alone. God is on your side. God is on your side. And where you little shits was a phrase of endearment. I'm from sauce from the fruit room, soap raisins on ham, and where the presence of pickled herring was the sign of a superb affair. I'm from aunts and uncles roaring with laughter and retelling these same old stories on a Sunday afternoon after church, and the silent hope that those stories make it to my grandchildren's ears someday. We might not have all the same histories. We might not share some of the same language, but we are working toward the same change that we desire to see. We might not have all shared where we've all been, but we share the vision of where we're going. And here's the vision that we struck at Urban Homeworks. We see a day. We see a day out there where every relationship is reconciled, every life liberated, and every day is dignified as the evidence of this hope of Jesus. So we're here to tell you that you are a part of making this difference and this vision come true. You are changing lives. We are changing each other's lives. And mine is not the least among them. So in 2014, you've helped house 343 people. Just in 2014, 225 of which are children. You helped 119 people along the pathway towards home ownership in 29 homes. You helped close the racialized home ownership gap. I think you've heard this, right? We have the highest home ownership rate in the state of Minnesota, the biggest gap between people of color and white folk. Every one of those houses, you've helped close that racialized home ownership gap. You've helped neighborhoods reclaim 30 homes with an additional 44 under construction right now. You've helped 161 people gain on-site job training through partnerships with Tree Trust and Goodwill Easter Seals. You helped us be nimble in seeding the Building Innovation Program in Frogtown, resulting in 4 new houses, 56 trainees, 100% program participation, and every one of the people who participated in constructing those new houses got 36 credits from St. Paul College. Your support was assisted by 1,188 volunteers, donating 3,183 volunteer days. Some churches got alongside and delivered 140 Thanksgiving baskets last Thanksgiving. 140. You should have seen those things lined up. 488 people were thanked by their landlord. You helped make things like UC2 happen. And I could go on, and I could go on with measurements and metrics and outcomes and all kinds of things on how we're measuring what's going on at Urban Homeworks. But I'm not going to do it. I just want you to be assured that every dime and every dollar, every coin and every kernel, you help perpetuate the hope of Jesus in our world and in our neighborhood. So we thank you, and we need you, and we need you going forward. We absolutely do. And I am going to close with this old poem that's written in the old book. And after I close with this, and I'll close this and put it in the form of a prayer. We'll be hanging around here, so if you have questions, comments, concerns, carefrontations, we'll be here to answer those. So this is an old poem out of the old prophet Isaiah, chapter 58. And I'm reading it out of the version by Peterson, the Message. God, I pray that you give us the courage to live into this. And so this is what God says. Y'all, what I'm interested in seeing you do is this. Share your food with the hungry. Inviting the homeless poor into your homes, putting clothes on the shivering ill-clad, being available to your own families. If you get rid of practices, quit blaming the victims. Quit gossiping about other people's sins. If you are generous with the hungry, and start giving yourselves to the down and out, your lives will begin to glow in the darkness. Your shadowed lives will be bathed in sunlight. I will always show you where to go. I'll give you a full life in the emptiest of places, firm muscles and strong bones. You'll be like a well-watered garden, a gurgling spring that never runs dry. You'll use the old rubble out of past lives to build anew. To rebuild on the foundations from out of our past. Isn't that what we're trying to do? You'll be known as those who can fix anything. Restore old ruins, rebuild and renovate, and make community livable again. Thank you for all of your support, for the fingerprints that you put on my life, and for walking alongside as we make community livable again. Amen.